Chapter 7. True Love. I told my god sister and friends I was leaving with Earl, and then we headed back to his manager's house in New Rochelle. I was very interested in seeing the house since I had never been there before. I heard it was really nice. It was still very dark by the time we got there, so I couldn't really tell the condition of the house. It was very big and it was surrounded by a number of other big houses. Earl seemed very excited that he finally had me in his company. When we got in the house, he showed me his side, which was very nice. It had a really big living room and a nice sized bedroom with a door that led up to a huge kitchen that the whole house shared. Earl got out a whole loaf of bread, eggs, cinnamon, and milk, like he knew what he was doing, and said, "How many do you want?" I told him three or four. He said, "That's it? My French toast is so good. Trust me, you're going to want more." "I'll start off with three for now," I said and smiled. He said sarcastically, "Okay," and then he laughed. I stood in the kitchen while he was setting everything up with pure joy on his face. I'm thinking to myself, why is this boy so happy? Does he think he's getting some ass after this French toast? Because that's not happening. Then I thought, shit, do I have enough money for a cab back to Yonkers? How much is it? Lord, what have I gotten myself into? While I was thinking all this, he's making a whole loaf of bread in these two frying pans. As I was sitting there watching him make this French toast, a feeling came over me, and I thought to myself, this is Earl I'm sitting with, the little boy that stole the pocketbook who I dreamed about as a little girl, thinking that he would protect me. What are the odds that 6 years later we would meet again and he would be making French toast for me? He sure didn't come across as a boy that would make French toast then. And then out of nowhere, Earl started looking very interesting to me. While he was making the French toast, Earl started asking me a bunch of questions about my childhood and asking me if I had a boyfriend. I asked him why he didn't have a girlfriend. He told me how girls are hoes and you can't trust them, and then he was a loner. He just kind of brought me up to speed on his life, how he met his manager, about this really big house, and how he had to get out of School Street because it wasn't a good place for him to be. He went on telling me how much he loved his mother, but she put him away when he was a little boy. He told about how his mother chose her boyfriends over him and how his father left him. By then, he started getting a little choked up, but he pulled himself back together real quick, although he still looked really sad. Then I told him about what my mother did and how my dad was really emotionally abusive and that I loved him, but I couldn't take being around him. He said, "You want me to beat him up?" I laughed and I told him, "Not at all. What kind of question is that?" He just laughed, but he was serious as hell. I told him that even though his mother had her issues, at least at the end of the day, she stayed around. She didn't desert him and his sisters, not like what I went through. Then I got real quiet and said for a second, I thought to myself, girl, what are you doing? Get yourself together. I thought it was so sweet when he saw me get sad, he got sad. But anyway, we were really having a great conversation. He went on to show me letters from all these girls that wrote him while he was in group homes. He said he was trying to change his life and I would be the perfect girl for the job. I said, really? Yes, he said. You're a good girl, someone that I can really love. I'm thinking, this guy is really pushing hard to get in my pants. By then, we finished the French toast and it was really good as hell. I asked for four more pieces, and we were just having a good old time kicking it. Earl started writing different songs to me. He did at least four or five dope songs. It was so cute. It was the first time I got a chance to really see Earl for Earl. He was a sweet, sensitive guy that was just misunderstood. He had a big heart and is very real, not like other guys that I was used to having conversations with. This was just so different. As I sat there and listened to him talk, I really started to enjoy his company. We sat in the kitchen till it was broad daylight. I don't think I ever laughed so much with a guy in my whole life. We both kept saying to each other, "This is corny, but doesn't it feel like we've known each other forever?" It was the strangest feeling. When we were finally ready to lie down, I prayed he didn't try anything. I was tired as hell and didn't like staying that night out with the guy. So I asked him for a phone number for a cab. He said, "I thought you were staying over." I said, "Well, to be honest, I don't like staying over with guys. I just really enjoy having you here. If you stay, I promise I won't try anything," he said. Even though I didn't believe him, I knew the cab would probably be $15, so I said, "Okay, but I have to leave as soon as I get up because I have something to do later." I was lying. We started kissing, but he didn't try to get fresh. We just kept kissing. And then, out of nowhere, he said, "I love you." What? He said, "I love you." "Oh, you are really trying to get some ass from me, huh?" He said, "I've always loved you from the first day I saw you." I said, "Are you serious? Do you mean when you saw me on Linden?" "Yes," he replied. "I used to dream that I was a lion and you were the only one that could tame me." I could see the seriousness in his eyes. I thought that was sweet, but I still wasn't totally buying it. And then he said, "You'll see." The next day we got up and it was a beautiful sunny day. He was so happy to wake up with me. I could just feel it. He said, "Are you hungry?" I replied, "Not really." "Before you leave, do you want to take a walk with me in the area so I can show you the houses?" he asked. I said, "Sure." I always loved doing stuff like that. We went outside. It was such a beautiful neighborhood. It had big, beautiful houses and tall trees everywhere. It was not what I was used to seeing in Yonkers. I felt like I was down south somewhere. He took my hands as we walked. I guess he caught up in the moment, too. I was really surprised. This wasn't at all the kind of guy Earl portrayed on the streets. A rough, heartless person who robbed people and gave them the screw face. He was so full of love and life. The perfect word for Earl was substance. Boys his age didn't have that, and I just went with it and enjoyed the moment as we walked in the area, taking in the sights and talking. He rolled up his blunt of weed and asked me if I smoked. I said, "No way." "I respect that, but I do," he said and started laughing. It was cute, and after that day, the rest was history. We could not get enough of each other. I didn't leave his house until the next day. Earl came with me to pick up clothes from my apartment so I could go to work from his house. The bank I worked at was in White Plains, which was very close to New Rochelle, so we could spend more time together. We both thought that would be better. I couldn't believe that I went from not wanting to stay the night to wanting to go home to getting clothes and going to work from his house. Earl was like a breath of fresh air. The new energy, love, and excitement he gave me was nothing like I ever felt before. He was not like any other boy I had ever met before either. His rough edge and grimy style interested me. We sat up almost every night talking and laughing. Earl didn't have much to offer me, but the love and happiness he brought me I couldn't buy from any other boy his age. After a week, we started having the best sex sessions ever. Yes, I only held out for a week. First of all, no, he wasn't my first, he was my second. And being a virgin, your first isn't pleasant. Earl knew this, so when we made love, it was love. The passion and the emotion we shared was incredible. It's amazing once you're really into someone and you make love to them, all the pain you thought you would feel, you don't. For the next year, we were inseparable. We made love like rabbits in his New Rochelle house. Anywhere we felt the urge to do it, we did it. We could not get enough of each other. Earl was way more experienced in having sex than I was. I was very interested in learning new techniques with him in every way, and he loved that. He taught me things you can't even imagine in a bed. Being with Earl was like a rush. He brought out an edge in me I didn't even know was there. After all that I'd been through, it felt good to finally be with someone whose spirit was just as free as mine. When Earl found out what had happened to my mother and how I cared for my siblings, you could tell he really admired what I was doing and wanted to do anything possible to help me. Earl was very well known in the hood for being a big bully. He loved to intimidate people and then take their stuff. He did not care whether it was weed, jewelry, or money. Earl had an I don't give a fuck attitude. I felt like we were Bonnie and Clyde. We would be all over Yonkers. I remember when people used to see us holding hands and they couldn't believe it. He was known as a very insensitive person, and no one, especially his friends and family, could believe he was serious with someone. As far as I was concerned, I was from the other side of town. My whole crew and I hung with the in crowd, and we were only known to mess with the in boys. So seeing me with DMX and us holding hands, people couldn't believe it. From what I was told, DMX was a bum robber that had sex with a lot of females in Yonkers. I was told that he was not to be trusted, but that's not the person that I was spending time with every day. I felt like Earl was totally misunderstood, and I wasn't trying to hear nothing from nobody. My family and friends were not happy with me and Earl's relationship. They thought I could do better. Of course, that pissed me off. Earl was very respectful around my family and friends when he wanted to be. The more my brothers and friends had something negative to say about Earl, the more they pushed me away. I felt like no one besides Earl's grandmother understood him like I did. I started being very protective over him. I didn't want to hear anything, and my family and friends knew it. I couldn't understand all this bad talking because I never used to be in my friends' business. I never cared who they wanted to spend time with. So when they saw me find happiness, why couldn't they just be happy for me? Was it because he wasn't the best dressed and he was a cruddy dude that ran the street? When I dated boys with nice cars and who came from nice families, they had nothing to talk about. All they cared about was themselves. But in Earl's and my relationship, all he had to offer me was love. I could feel it when he touched me and when he looked at me. Why couldn't everybody be happy for me? Their reaction made me want to get away from them and just be with Earl. So I moved in with him and his manager at their house. I used to have my little sisters come stay with me from time to time, and no matter what, they were always riding with me, regardless of what other people said. Whatever made me happy made them happy. But my brothers weren't having it.